Hello, my name is Chia, and today we'll talk about ethical principles in healthcare. Okay, so let me briefly introduce myself. I'm from Lincoln University. I'm an assistant professor. I have many years of business experience working outside before I become a lecturer. So, uh, business ethics and ethical principles being uh, practiced by me as I was executive director of Sony last time for many years. So I can share with you some practical key ideas, practical ideas, and so forth in the ethics. Okay, so I'm sorry. So first, I would like to share with you. Um, just hang on a minute. I can share with you the entire screen about this particular word file. Now, the word file is topic one. So we are going to talk about ethical principles in healthcare. We have four main topics to discuss. The first one is core ethical principles in healthcare. Second, ethical dilemmas in healthcare. Third, informed consent and patent autonomy. And the last one, confidentiality and privacy. It will be followed by a summary, a case study, some quiz, and so forth, and the model answers. Okay? Um, Key terms and references. So without further ado, we would like to talk about this one first. This is the learning outcome. What you will get from this session, you should be able to justify the application of core ethical principles. Okay, we will talk about what are they later on. Appraise the effectiveness of current legislation and policy protecting confidentiality and privacy. Last one, determine the appropriate course of action in clinical administrative scenarios. So now we start with the first one. 1.1, core ethical principles in healthcare. Now, when we're talking about core, the word core means basic. It should apply all over the world. Okay. Now, the other key word is the word core, ethical. Ethical is something like morals. Okay. So, core morals applicable in healthcare throughout the world. And what are they? They're basically four of them. The first one and most central one is beneficence. Now, what does that mean? It means healthcare practitioner should always act in the best interest of the patient, not the best interest of their private hospital or the government hospital or any clinics and so forth. No, they should always act in the best interest of the patient. That's the number one, the most basic, most central. Now, think carefully about this. What happens if the patient do not know what is their best interest? The patient may be unconscious, or the patient may be of unsound mind. So we can't even tell the patient. We should consider which are the procedures that is needed best for you. We can't tell them because it's unconscious. It's not of sound mind. He doesn't understand you. So in times of emergency, for example, there's a car accident and the patient is unconscious, we will assume we will do a surgery if it will save their lives. That's one scenario. But it's not a real, very, very rare emergency that a surgery can be postponed. We will inform the clinical procedure that we want to do to the patient to their guardian, a legal guardian, to their parents, or to the siblings of the patient. And they will not have to decide what is the best interest for the patient. Either way, please do not forget the most central ethical principle in healthcare is always to act in the best interest of the patient. Okay, so now we'll do the second one. Non-maleficence means do no harm. Now it seems like it's easy to understand, but in practical situation, this can be a dilemma. For example, if you are a medical doctor in an aeroplane and there was some sort of emergency, maybe a patient had a heart attack. So what you should do as a medical practitioner is try to reduce the risk of the heart attack becoming fatal. But you do not have the equipment, and the place is in the plane flying maybe 30,000 feet high. So what you can do actually is to do no harm. Don't aggravate the patient medical condition. Or you may be unfamiliar. Let's say a patient is having a heart attack and you're a doctor, but you're not a medical doctor. You're a dentist. Right? So you shouldn't go and practice. Okay, heart surgery at that particular point of time. Okay, so do no harm. Now, unintended kindness. Unintended kindness can cause a lot of harm if you do not know what you are doing as a medical practitioner. So please be aware, do no harm to the patient. If you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the equipment, you don't have the support, do not aggravate the situation by assuming out of kind-heartedness that you can do whatever you want to do. Now the third one is autonomy. Means the patient right to make their own decision about their medical care. What does that mean? It means that any patient should have a choice, can have a choice. You, as a medical doctor, for example, you can tell the patient, let's say you're going for a surgery that's invasive, that's a risk. But you can also tell the patient there may be another way of doing it, maybe non-surgery, some other alternative, viable treatment. You have a duty to tell them so they can make their own decision. Practically, many patients are worried about their doctors because in their mind, patients know the doctor is maybe out to make money. After all, the doctor must have medical training, but at the same time, the doctor also needs money for their cars, for their house, for their family. So sometimes doctor may be biased in giving information. They may say it's important to do MRI, do a CAT scan, do an X-ray, do a surgery, because it possibility they can charge more. So they don't tell the patients everything. And that is wrong. Because imperfect information or non-availability of relevant information not given to the patient means the patient cannot make an informed decision about the treatment. If a medical practitioner withhold, mislead their patient, how do we expect the patient to make an informed decision on their own? So the best thing that we can do is to give unbiased, relevant, accurate, and timely information to the patient so that they can make a rational choice by their own standards. The last one, core principles, is depending on justice, fairness in the distribution of healthcare resources and treatment. That's what it means. Now, we know there will be a lack of resources, whether it's financial resources, machinery resources, things like beds, number of organs available for transplant. There's always a lack of resources. So sometimes the medical fraternity may have to make choices. Like for example, 5 persons need a very urgent kidney organ transplant, but we have only one organ available. How do we select out of 5 which one receive the organ? Another very common situation is whereby the hospital only maybe got 5 operating theaters. Only 5 operating tables or theaters. We got 50 emergency people. Who go in first? This is because of lack of resources. And sometimes we have to make our selection. Who deserves first? You can always say which is the most urgent, deserve first. But let me tell you, there are cases whereby there are many equivalent urgency That's where the dilemma comes up. Okay. But nevertheless, we should have justice as a core principle. And the core principle means patients have a fair chance to access necessary care. We should not reject patients unnecessarily unless we don't have the resources. Okay? So we call this the four principles. So I would like to say again, what are the four? First one, beneficence. Acting in the best interest of the patient. Second one is do no harm. Third one is, please understand, we must give the information to the patient so that they have a right to make their own decision about their own medical care. Last one is justice. It's actually a demand that there is fairness in providing medical care. Now, sometimes these four principles are in conflict with each other. Okay? Now, for example, a treatment that is highly beneficial may limit the patient's freedom of movement. Let's say a patient have a problem with the legs, a diabetic, okay, and then we need to cut off the leg. Okay? So by cutting off the leg, maybe you can save his life. Okay, so that is called beneficial to you. But unfortunately, it goes against patient can have lesser freedom of movement. Okay, they can have lesser freedom of movement. Or you may have a person having a car accident, and then you need to amputate the leg to save his life, or to pull him out from the burning vehicle. Now, he has no right to make a decision because he was unconscious, but to save his life, okay, first principle, we amputate his leg to save his life. But it goes against autonomy principle. He was not given the chance to decide. Okay? So, it's hard. And why is it hard for ethical principles in healthcare? Because we're dealing with human lives. And the physical nature and the emotional nature of a human. So it's difficult. So we will look at an infographic to sort of summarize. Okay, maybe let's make it a little bit bigger. So the first one, beneficence, definition, whatever is done or said is for the patient's good. Example, the benefit of treatment must outweigh the risk. So sometimes with a new drug come out, and then with potential side effects, we have to tell the patient. Okay. Second one, autonomy, respect for the person and his or her right to self-determination. For example, it's a patient right to decide which treatment they do or do not receive. There are many alternate types of medicine, not just a Western medicine, for example. You may have the traditional Chinese medicine, traditional Indian medicine, and so forth. We need to tell them. Okay. Now, non-maleficence, whatever is done or said will be do the patient no harm. Never lie to patients. Or can I say, sometimes you don't tell all to the patient. It's not lying, But just don't tell all. That is actually not so good. No? And the last one, justice. Equitable allocation of healthcare resource according to need, not wealth, class, creed, or talent. Now, this one, private hospital, expensive. Only for those people is directly wealth. So their resources is pointing to them, those individuals. So government hospital would be better. They don't really look whether your wealth status. So treat patient based on medical needs, not really the private hospital. I just look at whether do you have insurance coverage? Do you have a credit card? And so forth. Okay. So I want you to look at the video. And the video is let me just bring it up. Okay. Let's do a check. Okay. So everything seems okay. So let's continue. We're still recording. It just confirm. Okay, we're still recording. So let's go back into the teaching material. Or you can, for this one, this is a source. Okay, okay, fine. Now, when you look at the video, the title is Unethical Medical Practices in India. Now, I'm not just pinpointing India, I'm just saying, okay, as an example, you look at this video, and this is the source. You can look at it. Click here to open the link, look at it. So, what I've done is I've done a transcribe. So let's see what we learned from the above video, which you will see in your spare time. The video highlights several practices. First one, narrowing of normal ranges. Okay. Now, based on the 90s research, I don't know whether it's still happening right now. I think it should be lesser. Medical practitioner capitalize on patient fear. For example, clinical video, the actual normal blood sugar range is 60 to 120. But they will tell you, or the report will tell you, when you do a blood test, they will do a, when you donate your blood to do a blood test, the report will come back and show actually slightly higher. Not so high, just to get you worried. Just to get you worried. So you take their medicine and you take their treatment, which you have to pay. That is okay. Another one, free medical camp. Come, we test you, it's free. Don't worry. That's what they always say. This is basically rope you in. Come, it's free. And then they test you and then they start to cause you panic. That is called roping in patients for costly treatments. They will always say you are marginally ill and require immediate treatment. You know how they do a lot for them? For who? For the babies. They will tell the parents, the child is not so good, you better go for big treatment. And being a parent, right, you get nervous. And the fact is, your children cannot communicate. Maybe they're crying a little bit, but it's maybe because of hunger or something else. It's not because of some underlying, okay, disease. So they panic you. Next one, inflating illness severity. They can cure you easily as long as you follow their treatment, which means as long as you pay. Okay. Say, their doctor say, don't worry, don't worry. We can cure you. Okay, don't worry, don't worry. We will operate on you. But they leave the unspoken sentence, which is you have to pay. Okay. So they will say that the issue is not serious, but they could be inflating the condition's severity to earn trust and money. Now, this is very common. Focus on disease management, not curing the underlying issue. Now, this is a little bit sensitive because a lot of illness we do not know the what the underlying cure for it. We do not really know how we come up. A good example is cancer. We do not really know how to cure it. So we are giving some disease management medicine. That's all. To manage disease rather than curing them. So keep them reliant on medication and treatments for life. Ask a diabetic patient. Ask a high blood pressure patient. These people are taking medicine for life. That means they're paying for life. Okay? Because they are not curing it. Now you can say there's no cure, or they don't know how to cure. So they're just managing it. Okay. So big pharmaceutical company slightly modified generic drug at very crazy prices, and doctors are incentivized to prescribe these expensive alternatives. Let me tell you a few things. I have a friend who's selling medicine to the doctors. He's a salesman. He's working in a very big pharmaceutical company. He will say, you go to the clinic, they sell his medicine. The first thing the doctor will say is, do you have any free samples? Okay? So he has to give free samples. So that's unethical. Because the doctor will use a free sample on the patients and then charge them accordingly. And if the medicine say it's okay, so the doctor now will place a bigger order. And the doctor will ask for discount. No wonder the pharmaceutical company is charging high prices. Because they have to pay free medicine or discounted medicine to this kind of unethical doctors. So anyway, the video concludes by stating its purpose is not to insult the medical professional, but to raise awareness among those who exploit the system for personal gain. Viewers to stay vigilant and question everything. Don't forget, the doctor also had to pay for their car loans, the house loan. Where did they get this big money from? From you, the patient, the unknowing patient. Okay. Now, I want you to look at this self-check 1.1. Justify whether a formal code of conduct is essential for maintaining public trust and ethical standards among healthcare practitioners. What is a formal code of conduct? Formal means written. A code of conduct is something like a code of ethics, nearly the same. Sometimes the words are used interchangeably. Okay, so you may have a code of ethics or code of conduct listing down what they can do or what they shouldn't do, okay, and do the healthcare people follow it. So justify it. Whether is this needed? So you look at the bottom of this chapter. So hang on. So let's say we have self-check question. Again, justify whether a formal code of conduct is essential. Answer, it is. Because it establishes clear boundaries for professional behavior and patient care. There are certain things that you should do, and there are certain things you should not do. But clearly stated, it should be clearly stated the boundaries in the code of conduct for ethics. It protects patients by providing a mechanism to address misconduct and ensure accountability. Where is the mechanism? The mechanism is in the code of conduct. Failure to do this or failure to do this or failure not to do something, there will be some penalties. Sometimes it's listed in the code of conduct. Okay? It guides the practitioner in making difficult ethical decisions consistently. So where do you see this code of conduct? When you go to any a doctor's place or hospital, they should have this code of conduct printed out, put on the wall. If you have such, then at least you know the doctor is thinking about code of conduct or code of ethics. If you don't see it, you're not so sure whether that particular doctor is having any uh, code of conduct. I don't know whether they will follow or not. So it's actually good to see code of conduct being printed at the various medical places. Okay. Now, what I want you to do after going through the this chapter is go and appraise your local practitioner code of conduct. When you see the code of conduct, you must go and see. Read it. Appraise it. There's something wrong, something missing. You can highlight if you want to. Okay. Go and look. And if you cannot find the code of conduct, you're going to be question mark. Why is the code of conduct not there? Okay. And if it's there, go and appraise it. Now, we'll go to the second one, which is called the ethical dilemmas. It arises when a practitioner, a medical practitioner, must choose between two or more morally justifiable actions, but choosing one means failing to do the other. There's no simple right or wrong answer for this kind of issues. Okay, so two, you have to choose one. And when you choose one, maybe the other one is having problem in your principles. Okay, so I think we are giving you the example of beneficence and autonomy. Your doctor is torn between saving the patient life and respecting their right to choose. Okay, this I'll give you an example. Was a car accident. The patient leg was jammed, cannot be removed. At that time, do you want to save him by cutting off his leg? Or give him the right to choose? He's already unconscious. You may have to do more harm first. You may have to save his life first. Okay? So you may have to cut his leg. So therefore, there's an ethical dilemma. And this is the problem. Is some doctors is always in the emergency station, and every day they see so much emergency, and they have to decide. Sometimes they become a little bit numb. Okay, good ethics. They just do whatever they think is right. Okay? It's because of the situation. We're talking about practical. Some doctors will be in an emergency ward for 3 hours. Why? One colleague is not coming to work, so he has to cover for the missing colleague. They're working for 30 hours. Practically, these people, the young people, the young doctors, you know how they deal with stress? They go and smoke things. Practically, it's not correct because doctor is not supposed to do smoking because it's bad for your health. But they need to reduce stress. So the ethical dilemma is always on the medical practitioner. When they are facing with pressures and stress, oh, it's very difficult. Okay, let me tell you, it's very difficult. Another significant dilemma is resource allocation. For example, when a new or expensive drug can save only a few lives, while the same money to fund widespread prevention of many other, for many, a justice dilemma exists. Okay. Resource allocation. You want to build a new hospital so can save more people, or you want to spend the money doing R&D to save a few person with that kind of very unique disease. It's good to do too, but unfortunately, your resources are limited. Time, money, people. You don't have the time, you don't have the money, or don't have the people to do two. You only have to do one. What do? You make a decision. Okay, so therefore, there's a dilemma. Now, in the normal ethics, we have a two theory. We have one that is called deontology. Always do right. We will always do the right thing. Even though at the end of the result may not be so good. But we do the right thing, end of the result may be good. Now, for example, just a little bit off, we put the atomic bomb in Japan. We do the right thing, so we can stop the war. But the end result, many Japanese will be killed. So we stop World War II. Okay. Now, another way to look at the end result is more important. How we do is not important. So there are two ways. One is called deontology, and one is called the utility view. Okay, utility view is we do always what is correct and then don't care about the consequences. And the other one is deontology, which is we will do what is needed, even though very bad. Okay, so now end of life care. Should the doctor continue painful life prolonging treatment that offers minimal benefit, or should they withdraw care to prevent future suffering, even with patient's death? For example, you put a person, maybe his brain dead already, he stop functioning as a human being, the brain is dead. You put on oxygen, so he can still continue to breathe, he's still alive. But his quality of life is very bad. He's just on a bed with the oxygen. Should we stop it? The oxygen, so you can peacefully? Or we carry on putting in the oxygen so that we don't kill him. In these kind of cases, you have to talk to the legal guardian and talk to the relatives of the patient. Now, new technologies constantly challenge existing guidelines. Okay. For example, genetic testing offers great benefits, but raise concern about the privacy of genetic information. Next one. Rise of AI, artificial intelligence in diagnostics, present a dilemma of accountability. Now, AI actually is two ways to think about it. The first way is we teach AI. That's called the learning. we ask AI to learn things. So how do they learn? We bombard AI, okay, with images, internet information, Instagram, Facebook, okay, encyclopedia information we just put into. Yeah. And then the next step is called inferencing. The machine now, based on what they have learned, when you put in a question for them, your question to the AI, they will go and infer based on whatever knowledge that was earlier learned. So the more the AI machine learn, the better the inferencing the question comes in. But when they write this kind of algorithms, it becomes so complex that sometimes when you ask AI a question, or when AI do a diagnosis of a patient, they give you crazy answers. And we look at it, why AI give a crazy answer? It's because the learning was not complete. But there is no such thing as a complete 100% learning, because knowledge keep on increasing every day. Technology keep on changing every day. So that's the problem. If you use AI to do diagnostic, and something is wrong, who's to blame? The machine? The programmer? The one who's feeding all the AI information? So sometimes they will try to deflect, it's not my problem, it's not my problem. Okay? Is it the hospital, the programmer, the hospital, or the physician who follow the recommendation of the AI? So, next one. Another dilemma is for the economic context. Incentive for efficiency can create ethical conflicts. When healthcare providers are incentivized to limit tests or procedure to save costs, they face the dilemma between their professional duty of beneficence to the patient and their fiscal responsibility to the system. Using cheap medicine, charging more. So, when the doctor or medical practitioner face a dilemma, best way, look at the code of ethics. Look at the code of ethics. Play it in your mind again. Still not sure? Talk to your boss. Consulting with an ethics committee and open discussion with the patient or family are crucial steps. Let me say that common ethical dilemmas in nursing. I'm not talking about nurse. I'm talking about healthcare nursing. Okay, so pro-life versus pro-choice, end of life, care decision, patient confidentiality, allocation of resources, refusal of treatment by patient. Some patients, they don't want the vaccine. You say you want to no, maybe to prevent the disease, you should have a vaccine for your children. You say no. Maybe because of politics or because of religious belief or whatever it is. Balancing patient autonomy with medical advice, cultural and religious conflicts. I think some people, especially in the US, because of religious uh, ideology, they are refusing to give vaccines to their children. Use or restraint situation, handling unethical behavior by colleague. What happens if you see your colleague doing unethical practices or behavior? What should you do? Disclosing medical errors. Okay. So let's look at the video. One of the common ethical dilemmas, I think, is nearly the same as the one. So the video, you can see the source. Okay, I have do a transcript on it. So it talks about patient autonomy versus medical advice. Must respect a patient's right to make decisions about their own care, confidentially versus duty to warn. So this one is, for example, when the patient condition puts other at risk. So let's say, for example, this patient got the Ebola. You have to go and inform to the government because you need to isolate this patient, and also to warn the public to be careful. So forth. in a life care. This is quite emotionally charged issue because uh, you may be ending a life of a person even though he's being brain dead. It's very emotional. Right? Resource allocation, cultural sensitivity, where the person cultural belief or practices or religious belief conflict with medical recommendation. Fully consent and personal ethics versus professional responsibilities. Uh, if you are in a private hospital and they bought a new equipment, okay, so the finance people in the hospital will say, we must have a return on investment, ROI. So they will encourage their doctors to recommend to their patients to use the new equipment. So the patient will pay for the new equipment. So we have a return on investment on that new equipment. Private hospitals are basically profit-oriented first. Evaluate the role of a moral compass when healthcare professionals are faced with tough ethical dilemmas. The role of moral compass. I think you all know what's moral compass, but let's look at the thing. A moral compass helps guide personal judgment when multiple choices could cause harm. Now, your moral compass actually comes from the individual. Individual people got different moral compasses. Now, most of them are quite standard. Okay? So, but you can have a little bit out for one person, differences from one person to another. The moral compass provides consistency in decision making, ensuring actions align with core ethical duties like beneficence and non-maleficence. It is vital, the moral compass, for maintaining trust. Okay, so I think that should be how you evaluate the role of a moral compass. Now, I want you to do something until the class is over. I want you to just think for yourself. Okay, evaluate ethical dilemmas in healthcare by rigorously assessing competing values, vision of autonomy, and potential outcome to ensure actions by the medical practitioner align with the core principle of benevolence and non-maleficence, always prioritizing the patient well-being and unity. So what I want to do is just reflect what we have learned so far in chapter 1 and 2. Sorry, in topic 1 and 2. Now we go to the third one, informed consent and patient autonomy. What is informed consent? When a patient grasps permission for a medical procedure or treatment after receiving a full explanation of the relevant facts. Some surgery may be very dangerous. The hospital may ask the patient to sign something. Okay, so this is informed consent. Now, for this informed consent to work, we need three things: voluntary, capacity, and information. Okay, first one, voluntary means the decision must be made freely by the patient, not under duress. Not when you panic, when you cause panic in the patient, then the patient makes a decision. If you, the doctor, create panic, then the patient consent will not be voluntary. It becomes involuntary. caused by you creating panic in them. So must not be unduly pressured into accepting or refusing care. Second one, capacity. It refers the brain to understand the information provided and appreciate the consequence of their action. So, how to make patient understand? Simple words, clear messages. Don't confuse the issue. That's what is meant by giving good information. It must be enough, clear, simple, sufficient. Explain the nature of the procedure. We're going to cut you off. What is the risk for you? Maybe you get too much gas, you cannot wake up. What's the benefit? What's the benefit? And the last one is patient autonomy. Is to respect the patient's fundamental right to self-determination regarding their body. Okay. Now, you may have some cultural issue. In some cultures, healthcare decisions are made by the family or community rather than the individual. Right. So maybe the parents or somebody more elderly will decide, and the patient will just accept because it's their culture. Is it right or wrong? Well, it depending on the circumstances. I won't comment on that. Okay. So, if a patient is unconscious and in immediate need of life-saving intervention, the law and ethics generally presume that the patient will consent to the treatment. Oh yes, I will quote references here. Okay, in some areas, so you can see for yourself. If you want to get more detail, you can look at the references. Okay. We should also inform about the cost, insurance coverage, and availability of equal or less expensive. Okay. Sometimes the private hospital won't do. They say we are not sure, we will give you a bill when everything is finalized. But first, they'd like to see your insurance coverage card. So these are some of the ethical elements that you can see for yourself. So let's look at a video about consent for information. This is the title. What is informed consent and why is it important? This is the source, and I will do a transcript on it. So let's look at transcript and take away from the video. Type of consent is informed, expressed, and implied. Okay, the informed is the best one. The implied is just how that one medical emergency one. Okay, he cannot say anything. Okay. We to be considered as informed, we must educate patients about the risk, benefit, and alternatives. Okay. When is it required? Normally for invasive. If it's a cough, simple cough, we don't do that. Invasive means surgery, because there's always a risk. You may interrupt somebody's body. Okay. The key requirement requires to be informed, and they understand, patient understand what is being informed to them, and it must be. They try to keep it simple, but give a complete picture. So multiple steps process for obtaining informed consent. First step, they can inform whether verbally or in writing. Most likely will be verbally. Confirmation or understanding, they will ask the doctor should ask, do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? And ask them to repeat back their understanding so that the doctor can confirm what they tell is what the patient understands by asking the patient to repeat back. voluntary agreement. They are mentally competent, the patient. If you have an unstable, mentally handicapped person, that's not very good. Okay? Not under duress, you don't create panic for them. Okay? Formal declination, you need to be signed, especially for invasive. Okay? Okay. A little bit aside, right? No, in some medical hospitals, they may buy insurance policy, okay, against court cases whereby patients, unhappy patients, will want to sue the hospitals. So the hospital actually buy this kind of very expensive insurance, very expensive insurance. What they, what the hospital or the relevant doctors involved in this kind of court case is to show that there has no negligence done on their part. There's no negligence done on their part. Okay, they have tried their best, and yeah, the operation went wrong. Okay, but there's no negligence or bad faith on their part. The patient cannot win the court case. So in case there is some negligence and the patient win the court case, here comes the insurance policy to kick in to pay for the patient. Okay, I want to look at 1.3. The word here is PQ, to ensure that informed consent and patient are upheld. How do you make sure? Okay, so let's look at 1.3. How do you make sure that informed consent and patient autonomy are upheld? Answer: simplify the medical information. Verify the patient voluntary decision making. Confirm it. Are you making your decision based on all the information we've given you? Doctor should ask that. Document the discussion, capacity to consent, and the full. Now, normally we do it for invasive, nothing to say. So now we go to the next one. I want you to do something after this class. I want you to design an informed consent form. A simple one. Okay? You can just go to the internet and copy some key points. Just design one informed consent that will criticize, that will crystallize your, your thinking about this as well. So the last one is confidentiality and privacy. To prevent the unauthorized disclosure of patient information, that's called confidentiality. In the principle of fidelity, trust. Okay? So privacy is a broader concept. Patient right to control access to their personal health information and to control physical access to themselves. So confidentiality is to keep information private. Privacy is the patient also have a right to access their personal information. They can also, under privacy, they can also ask certain information to be deleted. Okay. Now, it depending on the various countries, various laws. Most countries already have the Protection of Privacy Act. Okay. So you can look at it. Now, the duty of confidentiality is not absolute. There are legal and ethically mandated exceptions. Duty to report infectious disease or criminal acts. Okay, so let's say, for example, you're treating a patient who has got a shot, is being shot by a firearm. you must actually report to the police because a crime was created. Okay, so that is basically you do not disclose confidential information, you know, but there are certain exceptions. Okay, duty to report certain essential disease or criminal acts. Okay, a duty to warn, to notify the potential victim or the police. So we suspect this person having Ebola. You to warn, even though it's not concerned, right? Even though it's not concerned, but you suspect, and you have to warn, okay? For the greater good. Okay? The shift to economic health records means your medical data are all in IT. Okay, so therefore, if it's in IP, there will be more access point because anybody can go into your computer and look at it, go into your hospital. Right? If they are good hackers, they can hack it easily. Okay? Or whoever has the password of one of your medical practitioners, using the password, they can do it. So we need to have a more robust, right, cyber security measures. Okay? Now, the use of patient data for research, quality improvement, and planning purpose is critical in the economic sense, yet there's a threat to privacy. Okay? So, if you are using some data of your current patient for research and quality improvement, you must first de-identify, take out the names. Okay? So, understanding the patient confidentiality and privacy, first step, obtain the informed consent. Second step, you are putting everything inside the computer, you better use secure communication channels. Train staff on confidentiality and privacy law. And also, same time, also you better train your staff to have a very good password setting method, and also how frequent the password need to change. Maintain physical security of the equipment, the laptop. Nobody can enter the mainframe room. Okay, laptops should be locked when you finish your work. Use the identified data, scrub off all the names for research purpose. The names of patients. Let's look at the video. Breaking confidentiality. This is the video slide. So I do a transcribe already. So this example, okay, a serious breach of patient confidentiality. Now in US, they have this US Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Quite long ago, 1996. So in short, HIPAA by a hospital nurse. Okay, so here's a summary of the events. A nurse, okay, takes a selfie with her patient and posted it on her personal Facebook account, etc. about the likes that she can get from the Facebook. Maybe she posts and say, "Oh, this is my patient and he's suffering from what." It's now a friend of the patient's son see the Facebook and contact this person to ask about his father. Hey, I saw your father's face in Facebook. The son is shocked and very angry to learn that his father's photo and confidential information are on social media. So he go to the hospital and confront the nurse supervisor. So the supervisor confirmed the photo on Facebook and apologized, assuring the son that the issue will be handled with utmost urgency. You gotta be careful. They always say they do it very fast, but no one sure they do it fast enough. So anyway, the supervisor calls the nurse Shelby into the office and confront her about the Facebook. Shelby is dismissive Don't care. Never mind, it's okay. Not that kind of a business attitude. And Lewis is completely unaware of this. Now, one of the central principles of law is that ignorance of the law is no excuse. It applies to all countries. You cannot say, "Oh, I do not know the law, so I break it. I break a law, but I do not know it, so I'm not at fault." It is your duty to know the law. You cannot say, "I don't know the law," or even when you're driving, "Oh, I do not know the law. It cannot be more than 110 kilometers. So I'm driving 200 kilometers per hour. I don't know the law, so I cannot be guilty." No, cannot do that. Okay, it is your what? You have to know that. You cannot say you do not know that. Okay, so anyway, this shall be say, "I do know the law." What is this? Okay, then explain that you are not only posted the photo, but also disclose the patient diagnosis of heart failure. Now, the son father have a heart failure, right? You disclose it. That's confidential. Why confidential? It's the father's health condition, his personal condition, not to be noticeable. If he choose, the father can do his own Facebook. Okay, so this is her second offense. The first being talking about another patient in the public hallway, and she's been terminated from the facility. That's the result. You get terminated. Now, what about the nurse now? Can the nurse now go and sue the hospital for reinstatement of the position? Yeah, but most likely she will lose. Okay, because there's a law here. Okay? So the resolution, the supervisor called out the son to confirm that the nurse is no longer with us and has deleted the photo from Facebook, and again apologizing for the breach of confidentiality. Okay, so what you want to do is you look at this self-check question, assess the protocols to confirm that patient confidentiality and privacy are consistently maintained in daily healthcare practice. Look at the word daily, not selectively. Okay, so we are now look at 1.4 now. Assess the protocol. How do you do that? Do the protocol talking about patient information? Verify there's a protocol for that. Verify there's a protocol that the hospital or the medical practitioner stores clearly. How do you verify? Passport control, T control, equipment control. Are they such protocols? Make certain to describe it only in private setting and with staff who have a direct need to know the information for treatment. How do you assess that the protocol exists? Look at the job. What are they doing? Are they discussing only in private? Do they have privacy? Okay, let's say, for example, you're maybe staying in the hospital and it is an open ward. You need to put the glass and you don't need to shout. That is private session. Okay. Confirm that the patients are informed of their privacy rights. Right. So especially invasive one. Okay, how do you confirm? There's a protocol that it must be signed. Okay, the document need to be signed. So these are key terms, and these are all the references. So of course the references, this is the full APA 7th edition reference. The short reference is also in the various chapters. Okay. Sorry, just like show you. So you can see, for example, DSM 2023, this is the short reference, and lesson 2023, if you want to get more detail, will be under the reference here, under the full APA references. So let's look at lesson. Yeah, okay, 2023, and you can get this one. Okay, this is an article. You can go to the net and look it up. So this refer to that. Okay, now, and I want to sort of close it with looking at a case study. Yeah, the ICU drug dilemma. Okay, so Midtown General Hospital is a non-profit one hospital. So there's some challenge article. Okay, just a new drug comes up, Rejuve start, but its cost is very expensive. 15K per dose, nearly 10 times the price of the current alternative new drug. So the hospital, of course, please remember, is a non-profit one. Hospital, the CCO is calculated that fully implementing for all eligible will exceed the annual pharmacy budget by 3K. Now, if you're a non-profit healthcare provider, where you get money from? You get money from donation, right? Or grants from the government, or donation from the public. So you pull all this amount and you make a budget. Because you need a budget for pharmacy, for staffing, for buying equipment, and so forth, so forth. No? A lot of budgets. So now we have a dilemma in this case. This medicine is 15K per dose, 10 times more expensive than the current alternative. And if we implement this new drug, we will exceed the budget. Now, when you exceed the budget for pharmacy, are we going to take the money from another budget to reduce another budget and whatever consequences that will appear? Or you just leave it be? Okay? So you may require additional tasks in non-clinical staff or postponing necessary effort to aging, like whatever it is. Okay, so there is a alternatives. So which one you do? So the clinical team say that if you don't use the new drug, violates the principle of beneficence, the duty to act in the best interest of the patient. It seems that the new drug is better for the patient. So if you don't do it, we are against this core principle, okay, of beneficence. Now, this is the clinical team, doctors, okay, for example. Now, the management team have now a problem. Beneficence, the duty to help individual patients, and justice, the duty to ensure fair distribution of resources. They have a limit of only 2 million. Okay? So what should we do? So if Midtown choose to prioritize individual patients, they will unfairly distribute limited funds, negatively impacting the quality of life for hundreds of other patients who rely on community programs or whatever service, okay, justice service. So, but if they don't take the new medicine, sacrifice the lives of the ICU patient. But this is really actually very difficult situation, right? Very expensive, can save a few lives, but jeopardize other patients or others departments. Budget. Okay? If you don't do, those few people will die, but the other many people will be happy. Okay, okay, okay. So we have come back to the which one is better. The means justify the aims, or the aim justify the means. Okay, so it's either one of this. Okay, so the ethics committee right now propose a temporary allocation matrix limiting the drug to patient under 60 with no pre-existing condition that immediate marker apparent age discrimination. But anyway, so the ethics committee say that do halfway. Okay, maybe we don't blow the budget of 2 million, but we don't buy all the drugs we really buy some of the drugs for something. Okay, so that's how it looks like. So it's the challenge of balancing, and it's very, very common. Okay, very, very common. So this is a reference. You can look at this. This is a journal. Now, what I want you to do, based on the above, appraise how the proposed allocation matrix aligns with the particular principle. I want you to think. You don't have to give me the answer. I just want you to think. Justify the use of financial metrics such as hospital annual budget deficit as an ethical, acceptable criteria. Recommend what type of governance changes should be implemented by the board to ensure that future conflict between financial and ethical are resolved transparently and equitably. These three, I just want you to think. Okay, in a class like in ethics, it's I think good that you review for yourself, because Eric said moral is actually depend on the individual. You may have a code of ethics, you may have a written a code of conduct. At the end of the day, you as a medical practitioner, what are your morals and your ethics? Because your morals and ethics will guide the decision that you will make. And it's always a dilemma. Because you may have 4 principles, the 4 principles sometimes are in conflict with each other. When you're confused, talk to your supervisor. When your supervisor cannot give you a good answer, you have to go to the ethics committee, which means there should always be an ethics committee available to you. If in a hospital or in a medical institution, there should be an ethics committee. But if you are a stand-alone medical practitioner, go to your local medical board. They should have a ethics committee to resolve the problems for you. Okay, having said that, thank you very much for listening to me. And please look at some of the question and also some of the activity, and also review the case study and practice by yourself. Think for yourself, okay, about this particular topic, which is the ethical principles in healthcare. Okay, I will stop sharing and I will also stop recording.